All right. Oh, here we go. Counted down for us. Two, go. All right. Welcome, everybody. We are live. Well, we're not live. We're recording this particular session of the first installment of Two Guys Reselling. This is going to be our Tuesday night, whether we're recording for video or if we're actually doing lives. We're hoping to do mostly on the live side of things and bring everybody into the chat, get some questions, get some talking going back and forth. And before I go any further, my name's Jeff. My resell YouTube channel is JB Net Treasures, and with me tonight, behind pushing all the buttons, is our good friend Chris from out in California. Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, you guys probably know me. I'm Chris. Just a reseller, just a guy who likes to run around town buying stuff and then throwing it up on different channels online, and making a little bit of money here and there. Jeff?
Absolutely, yep, that's what it's all about. We got started reselling. I think I started in 2009 officially. Um, First item I ever sold was a local pickup only piano for $100. How I figured out how to use local pickup only in 2009 on eBay, I have no idea. It must have been pretty simple because got it. We got it, and we didn't get the account shut down or any warnings or anything like that. So it must have done something right with that. And I've been just that kind of hobby seller over the years. We've went off in several different directions, and all this time. Chris and I actually met via learning how to do drop shipping back in the day when eBay allowed you to do drop shipping from other channels or from other platforms like Amazon, Walmart, and so forth. That's not really a thing that you want to get into these days, but that's how I met. I was somehow managed to get information to Chris and said, "Hey, you might want to check this out. It's working for me." And Chris started his eBay journey. I think. Had you done any other eBay work before that, Chris?
No, not really. I was thinking about it, but I didn't really understand how I was going to replenish what I had sold.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
drop shipping
so
solved that pretty quick when it was
yep,
working the way it was supposed to work. Yep,
yep.
absolutely.
If it wasn't for the drop shipping, I never would have had the confidence to start.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I started again with the piano thing, but then I started reading a little bit more into eBay, and I would occasionally sell something else from around the house. I didn't really get out and start shopping for eBay on a regular basis. Occasionally we would go to a yard sale. I'd kind of keep an eye out for something, but we were more shopping just for fun or for ourselves. And as Chris and I became friends, even over the long term, we did go off in several different directions. We've both been on the same path a few times. We've both been off totally two different paths a few times, but we keep coming back. And that's why I like this logo. If you guys can see this logo, or which way to point, up in the corner there by Chris, Two Guys Reselling. It's this big arrow coming back around, and it all comes back around to reselling. That's where we, have found our home base. It's where we plant our flag. I am now technically a full-time reseller myself, along with a couple other side gigs that I have. Chris has been a full-time reseller longer than what I've been doing it. Basically, it became I introduced it to Chris, and he went and turned it into a major money maker. He's done really well with his eBay. So I'll let you go ahead and fill in some blanks there, Chris.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. So basically, I was afraid to even start selling anything on eBay just because I didn't want to go through my house, sell a bunch of stuff, make $100, and been like, okay, now what do I do? There wasn't back then. This is what, 2013. There wasn't a lot of online guides. Well, I should say there wasn't a lot of reliable online guides. Um, you just kind of had to make your own way. So what was that called? DSD, Do you remember, Jeff?
Drop ship domination. Yeah, sounds right. DSD.
Yeah, drop ship domination. So they had us jump on Amazon and find a bunch of stuff that we are interested in, list it on eBay, mark the price up a little bit, make a little profit, and then it would be Amazon's problem of getting the product out to the customer and taking care of the returns and stuff like that. That idea was very appealing to me.
Mhm.
But then I found out I made a lot more money if I just bought the stuff myself, from better sources than Amazon, and just resell it online. And what I mean by better sources, I'm talking like different thrift stores, garage sales, estate sales, and even some wholesale. You know, go ahead and go to your county, sign up for your resale tax identification number. Different states have it set up differently. I'm in California, so in California, it's basically a county thing. Um, in some places, it's a city thing. So just kind of, but I don't ever have a problem refilling up my store. So that's basically my story. Jeff?
Yeah, the DSD program. If it did nothing else, it taught me about eBay on the backside of eBay. I didn't know how to properly list stuff at the time. I was just like I just kind of putting stuff out there and hope throwing it against the wall, see if it would stick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the DSD program at least got me deeper into eBay on the backside of eBay, understanding what's there and available in the platform and how to list and understanding titles and understanding description and things that you had to do for pricing and so forth. And so yeah, it was a niche, and I can't fault them for anything that way because it helped. It helped me a lot. And unfortunately, being just kind of an off and on hobby seller, even after DSD, you do forget things.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris took up the torch and ran hard with his eBay business as I began to get back into trying to do it regularly, even at a yeah, part time situation. But when it comes, I'm going to come to our topic out of all this little conversation. When it comes down to everything with eBay or with any other kind of online business or any kind of uh, brick and mortar business, whatever the case may be, the numbers have to work, and that's where I feel like I've failed myself many times over by not trying to better understand the numbers. I've never been a numbers guy per se. And Chris has always said, he's my brains behind everything. I come up with some ideas, and Chris says, "Okay, I'll make it work." So he knows how to do that. But um, that I think is a big part of his success at becoming a full time seller. Is he had the numbers and what he had to do day in and day out to get that done. And I'm kind of one of those guys that just took me a while to really lock that in or to start locking it. I'm still working on it. So, and everybody's still working on it. It's a day by day learning experience, change, seasons change, COVID happens, who knows, all kinds of crazy things make the numbers do this on you. And you just got to try to maintain a line with your business and do what you got to do daily and make it work. But knowing what you've got to do daily is what the numbers are all about. Um, Chris, you got any comments on that?
Um, just don't get emotional about what you're buying. So if you're just beginning, if you're just starting out, you're not going to find the best stuff. You're not going to get the best price, and you're not going to make a whole lot of money in the beginning. Um, Basically, you don't know where to look. You don't know when to look. You don't really know how much to pay. And a lot of people, when they're at an estate sale or a garage sale and they see something that looks interesting, they're too shy to pull their phone out and look the price up on eBay real quick to figure out whether or not it works for them.
Not me, man. I'm walking in. I got the phone already going by stuff I see from the street.
That's the way you got to be, man. That's the way
Yeah,
you got to be.
you got to be a little bit on the, I won't say aggressive, assertive maybe. You've got to take control of it and say, I'm either in business or I'm just out here having fun. If you're just out here having fun, you don't want to lose money either. So you might as well learn how to do some of this stuff and not be afraid of it, so that you can, go ahead and make a couple extra bucks for the kids' Christmas or vacation, or paying for extra school stuff or whatever. If that's what you're doing, depends on what you're doing. What do you want to make money for? So,
yeah, exactly.
good deal. So, I mean, when we talk about numbers, we could be here for hours and hours tonight talking about that, but we'll try to kind of break down a few things here. Understanding certain things, cost of goods. Chris just touched on that. Cost of goods, sourcing. I mean, that's where it all starts. That's where you technically, that's where it is by knowing what you're buying. It's always a challenge, depending on what you feel comfortable with and what you have available to source. And don't let me forget, Chris, I want to come back around to the different areas that we live in and what's available to source. But getting out there and figuring out what you are going to sell, then getting out there, as Chris said, finding the sources for that. And as a beginning seller, no, you're not going to get the best prices unless you just accidentally come across a great deal. Okay. Thrift stores, garage sales, auctions. What else? The bins. People like to go to do you ever go to the bins, Chris, out there?
Yes.
You done that? Yes, yep. You have? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
For me, numbers wise, auctions are probably the cheapest way for me to get a large amount of inventory. And for Chris, it may be an auction or it may be the bins. I don't have bins close enough to me to make sense for me to go there, unless we're happen to be in the area sometime that I might stop in at one down in Indianapolis or something. But so those are a couple of sources where you're going to get a lot of stuff for at least lower amount of investment, and potentially you're going to have a higher profit margin by doing that. But back to the basics. As we start out selling, I niche stuff down. Right now, I am niched into men's activewear or sportswear. I prefer to buy and sell in the more of the premium sizes, the extra large, 2XL, 3XL, stuff like that. Collectibles, as you can see behind me in the screen, big Star Wars fan. There's a couple things up there for sale on the shelf, but most of it's just collectibles. But collectibles is a area that Chris and I both cross paths in. As you can see, my Stark Industries, we both do some Marvel, some DC. Chris does a lot of comic books, different things like that. So, and then I also do some golf whenever I can find the equipment. That's where I'm going to circle back to the sourcing that you have in your area available to you to make your numbers work. But you've got to start somewhere. So understanding the numbers from the get-go can put you in a very good position. I was just listening to some YouTube this morning while I was listing, talking about the starting out. You may want to look for if you can afford it, if it's coming out of your pocket to buy the product to sell it, but you may want to look for stuff that's in that $20 to $30 range that you can sell in a $40 to $50 category. As a smaller store, those numbers are going to help you because you're not going to be able to sell as much, especially as you're getting started. eBay won't even let you list a lot. Okay, you get started. Well, how many listings do they let you have? I don't even know what it is anymore. 20, depending on what the dollar amount is.
Mm-hmm.
Seen that lately, Chris?
Yep.
So there's a lot of sellers that get into the groups and they're asking questions like, "Hey, I've done 10 listings. Now they tell me I can't list anymore. Why is that?" Well, because eBay wants to make sure you're a real person who's going to actually do what they're supposed to do. If you sell it, you're going to get it shipped on time and customer service and all that before they open the gates a little bit wider to let you do more stuff. Amazon starts you off that way. You're extremely gated in Amazon. If you were to start that today, there's only certain categories that you can sell in, and it takes a good long time before they let you get into other more lucrative categories, possibly. Excuse me. Um, so yeah, on a numbers basis, a new seller may want to stop and say, okay, I've got $100. I'm going to go out to the garage sales. Should I pick up a whole bunch of $1 items and sell them for $10, or should I pick up a couple of $20, $30 items and sell them for 40 or $50 and making a little bit better profit, putting more money back in your pocket, and then continuing to build a little bit from there. Understanding that go out and make $40, I don't want to take that whole $40 and go spend it again unless you're going to buy another item that's going to level you up again so that you actually still have some profit, or you're still making the same amount of profit. All you're doing is turning that $40 over and over and over again, not really doing you any good. It makes you feel good. You're making sales. Hey, I found stuff I can sell, but you're not really making any profit at that point. So you've got to say, okay, I made $40 off of 20. So now I'm going to retake my 20 and go back out and do it again, hold this 20 back as my profit or for other expenses. Any thoughts on that, Chris, on doing small stuff starting out, or maybe a little bit higher category starting out?
Well, starting out, you always want to start small. You want those rapid small sales, because eBay's not going to consider giving you more listings or up your dollar limit until you give them a good 10 or 20 sales with some positive feedback, and so they know you're selling real products, like you said before, that you're going to be able to fulfill them. If you get those 20 sales, you can just contact customer support and they'll take you up to 300-400 listings easy. But if they do that, you have to be ready to fill them, because they don't like to have unused listings, and they have taken unused listings away from people before.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. If you're sitting there not gonna use them, then they're not gonna make a big deal about it. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. You've got it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying $50 and $100 type items. I'm saying the 20 to 30, but maybe if you put just a little bit more onto an investment, if it's okay to go ahead and buy that and it's going to sell, because then we're talking about a common problem for most sellers and for myself as well. On a semi-regular basis, I make mistakes every time I go sourcing. Sell-through rate. If you're going to spend $20-$30 on an item to see if it's going to sell, then no, you don't want to do that. If you're going to spend $20-$30 on an item that you can go into eBay, and there's tons and tons of videos out there on how to comp your inventory to see if it's got a good sell-through. What's a good sell-through rate? Everything's different by category. On clothing, sell-through rate is low. But on collectibles, it goes a little bit higher. Electronics is high.
Oh, electronics is the highest.
Yeah.
Their sell-through rate is ridiculous. It's like 60 to 70%. But their returns are also the highest in the industry as well.
Yeah. A little more risk involved with those.
Yeah, there is. With clothing, the dollar amount is a lot less, so your risk is a lot less. It doesn't hurt as bad when you bought a blouse for $2.50 and it got returned because she didn't like the way it looked on her. And that's common, especially in women's clothing.
Which is why I sell more men's clothing. We're not picky. If it halfway fits, we're good. Now you're talking I know she got the Hawaiian shirt on there tonight, but vintage clothing. I've got lucky, I guess. Just persistence of going out to sales on a regular basis. But I got a hold of some good vintage inventory this past week, and the vintage shirts, Nike vintage shirts, man, just going as fast as I can list them. So yeah, the guys are picky too. If it doesn't fit right, they're gonna let you know. If you get it to them and they find damage to it or whatever, they're gonna let you know about it. A lot of times it may be the ladies buying for the guy, and so they're gonna get their eyes on it before the guy even tries it on to let you know that there's a problem if there's gonna be a return. But yeah, for sure the clothing market it's saturated for one. It is a higher it doesn't hurt when you do have a return. There can be a lot of returns depending on the clothing category. Electronics, though, yeah, the other end of the spectrum. Electronics can be much higher dollar, but you got shipping, which could damage electronics. Just all they didn't order the right part. I'm sitting here. What did I buy the other day, Chris? I bought a keyboard. It was a older model Microsoft keyboard. It had not been used, still new in box, but it had all these accessories with it. So I mean, it would take nothing for me to sell this. What do they say? When in doubt, part it out. Go ahead and sell this accessory, but the return rate could be high on this because they may not know what they're doing when they place the order, and they're ordering the wrong thing. So
Yep.
Little parts of that we have to deal with. But on the number side, though, that's why Chris and I both like collectibles, and then some of the other categories that he sells in, and some of the categories that I sell in, because we've kind of found that middle ground, that ground of risk, but also lower return rates. Now Chris is more into correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a little bit more into the higher end collectibles a lot of times, and any little bit of something not being quite right, you're going to hear about it. But I say that.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's take a $30 comic book. If I tell the person that the $30 comic book is near mint, but it's got a crease down the cover, he's going to want some money back. They may not want all their money back, but they're going to want a considerable discount because it's not near mint, it's very good or fine. So if you mess up like that, they're even on a $7 item, if your description doesn't perfectly match what they're getting, there's going to be some pushback.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's trying to play that into the numbers. It's fun how the numbers, what you're dealing with, to figure out what to do on a daily basis, plus all these other steps, the description, the title, the price, all plays back into the numbers that you're trying to hit on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. That is true. But we're not all experts overnight. I mean, we've been doing this since 2013. I've been doing it full time since 2017. So that's a lot of time underneath our belt, a lot of experience. So for the new person, give yourself a lot of time and just keep a couple of things in mind. How much did the item cost you? Did you pay to have it shipped to you? If no, what was your travel cost to get it? For instance, we were talking about the bin stores. The closest bin store to me is about an hour and 20 minutes away. That's one way. So I count up how many hours it's taken me, plus how many miles, the mileage on the vehicle, and then the time to bring it back, process every item. And usually it's for a lump sum because they sell it per pound. So I buy 50 pounds worth of stuff. Last time it was like $1.99. So I paid them about $100 for 50 pounds. brought it back home, and after all was said and done, cost of goods for each item was about $1.75. And they range because I had some designer clothes in there. Then I had some, t-shirts that said stuff like legalize it, some Simpsons stuff, some Family Guy stuff. So it was a nice range of items that I had there. But because they only cost me, less than $2 each, anything I sold for what, $12 and beyond was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Am I lagging a little bit when I'm talking to you? Your screen's freezing up on me. My internet might be acting up again. Everything's good.
Yeah, everything so far you're good.
Okay. Yeah. Whenever we do one of these lives or recordings, I always need to preface at the, at the beginning that if I freeze up or something, just hang on a second. It's just my living out in the country slow internet that we have. So apologize for that. But yeah, and that probably, as far as the numbers go for a newer person, is, they're into the excitement of going out and, hey, I found some great stuff today, or I think I found some great stuff today, and I can't wait to get it home and get it listed. And then when you look at it from a business perspective and say, okay, so what was my cost of goods? What were my expenses? Expenses are probably the number one thing that we need to focus on, is especially as we're building up our goals, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly goals, and so forth. Our expenses are there. I've made the mistake recently where Chris goes to the bins on occasion. I buy a storage unit on occasion. Um, the last one that I bought, no, the second before last. Anyway, I could have swore I was maybe 45-minute drive to get it, and it was a small unit, so I knew it wouldn't take us long to load it and get out of there. It was about an hour and a half drive after all was said and done. So there was 3 hours of driving plus load time, then get home and then do going through our processing everything. And although it feels like I didn't pay much for the unit, but by the time I got done with all that and look at the gas expenses, especially these days, and so forth, that whole cost of goods went up quite a bit. And then I got to look at it and say, well, what I thought I was going to be able to sell it for, maybe I wasn't. It was going to be, I was going to have to drop the price because of the quality. Thank you. Quality of the items wasn't maybe what I thought they were going to be. So uh, the expenses factor right there is, see, we have a little chart here. How much item cost, pay for shipping, travel time, how much was the sales platform's commission. That's something, let's think of the fees that we have to put out to these platforms. You got to be able to factor that in. Shipping has been crazy lately. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you ship out anything today that was a mix between either UPS or priority mail in the last day or two, Chris? Like a pound, over a pound, not a. We know the USPS has a surcharge on the 20 inches or above, but something at a pound or more.
Well, yeah, but usually it goes into USPS priority mail padded envelope.
Okay, so
Because I
what
have
I
these little boxes that are 9 by 5 by 3, and they fit into that envelope perfectly.
okay,
So yeah, so I can ship something across the country. It could weigh up to 75 pounds as long as it fits in there. Now my items that fit in there are usually only 2 or 3 pounds, but I
okay,
save a buttload of money.
okay. What I've noticed in the last day or two for the items that I've been shipping out, normally when I get into a pair of blue jeans or sweatshirts, which those are starting to sell now as we're change of season, um, those are normally going to be just a little over a pound. So what has been the common practice I would say for the last 2 months, anything over a pound was going to end up going UPS because UPS was cheaper than priority mail. for anything more than a pound. Here in the last few days, I've noticed it's switched. It's like, okay, did UPS raise their price and nobody caught it yet, besides myself? Or what happened? Because all of a sudden now priority mail is back to being just a little bit cheaper than UPS. Everything I sent out 9 packages yesterday, and they all went USPS, United States Postal Service, because I was able to get the little bit heavier items into the priority mail category. So I don't know. That's just what I've noticed in the last day or two. But yeah, shipping cost, when it comes to looking at your numbers, your expenses, your cost of goods, and so forth. Wow, we could. That's another one you can go on hours and hours about doing tutorials on how to do shipping. And just for that reason, what I was just talking about is they all the shipping platforms raise their prices every 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody was talking on a YouTube that I watch. He sells mostly men's clothing, but was talking about first class on USPS, which is 15 ounces or less. Has already went up. For me, living in Indiana, to mail to Chris out in California, you're probably talking about $5. Seattle, Washington's closer to $5.50 or something like that, first class for me. Now Chris is on the other side. He's in that part of the country, so it's easier. He has to look at it and come back across the to Maine or something on the East Coast to get an idea there. But if first class rates continue to go up, my t-shirts or my polo shirts or my the majority of my less than 15 ounce item clothing pieces or collectible pieces, nobody's going to want to pay $10 for first class. I mean, your priority mail could be $10.50, $10.80, $12, who knows? So you're really getting now over time. Cost of living increases don't catch up to price increases for a while. So, California cost of living is a whole lot different than it is here in Indiana and so on, or the Midwest. But it's kind of a scary thought process. Every reseller has went through it. How long has online reselling been around? eBay's been around since 1995 or something like that. So, I mean, resellers that have been around that long have seen this rise of stuff over the years. It all works itself out over time, but it is scary when you're living in the transition of it right now, which we are. So, nailing down that shipping and knowing what's your best tip for shipping, Chris?
My best tip for shipping is get creative. I don't ever use FedEx or UPS because every time I've ever done a price comparison, USPS has always been cheaper. I really use those priority mail padded envelopes. You can order them from USPS.com. They're free.
Free.
They're free. You can only use them to mail stuff in. So, don't be using them as packing materials for your orders because the people in suits might come take you away.
Yes.
No, but seriously, it's a free shipping material. And I think right now it's like $8.30 to send anything within the US, including Puerto Rico. So there's a big thing. And most jeans, heavier pants, heavier shirts, blouses, sweaters will normally fit in that envelope. So
I've seen some sellers packing stuff into those envelopes, and man, they got it. It's so tight.
So that is my best tip is use those materials and also use the regional boxes. So if I'm sending something from myself to Texas, Southern California to Texas, we're crossing some states. We got to go across Arizona. Crap, my geography stinks.
Yeah. Say
That's not what
Utah,
we're
maybe.
here. Right. But from here, basically to the middle of the country, if I use those priority mail regional boxes A and B, it's considerably cheaper. Like the A box costs like I want to say like $9, and the B box, which is much bigger, is like $17. So like you're in Indiana, so for you to send from Indiana probably to New Mexico would be a similar price.
Yeah. I've used the regional boxes, and it's been a while since I've tried to use one. Um, I don't know if this is a gossip thing or if it's. I don't remember if I actually saw an actual statement from USPS, but I've been hearing that the regional boxes are not going to be doing those anymore. They're not going to be making them anymore. You may still, if you've got a bunch of them, you may still be able to use them. Um, I'm not sure that they're going to continue that program. Don't hold me to
Hmm.
that. I just caught that in a couple of other conversations over the last week. So that's something to look into to see if that's true or not. If there's any, or if it's
Okay,
just gossip, hearsay. So,
that's
but
interesting.
USPS is, they've all the shipping companies have been changing stuff so much, trying to realign businesses because they're
Hmm.
crunching their numbers. So we as resellers need to learn how to crunch our numbers. For any new seller that may be catching this video, the other tip that I would give you for shipping: get a scale. You have to have, if you're going to do this regularly, whether it's part time or full time, if you're semi regularly selling stuff, you got to have a scale because you'll mess yourself up really bad by not having your weights ready to go. So
Right,
it's going to show us a scale.
but don't freak out because you can go to eBay or Amazon and
They're
get a
not expensive.
little scale like this.
Yeah.
A little thing like this will solve your problems. It'll run you $20. Ooh, $20.
Mm-hmm.
Spend the
Best
$20.
investment ever. Learning how now on eBay, which is mostly what we talk about. All the platforms have some kind of a mailing situation, maybe a little discount or whatever. But especially with eBay, um, learn to use the discounts available. Learn to how to ship through eBay. I can remember even a couple years ago, before I really got hot and heavy back into selling, that I was still walking into the post office saying, "How much is this going to cost me to send?" I had no clue. Big mistakes.
Yep.
It didn't take but once or twice to yeah. I had my Amazon order scale coming to me real quick. So that's a huge one there if you're going to crunch your numbers. Just some thoughts to close this out for tonight. We've been on here for about a half hour, 40 minutes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So um, as we continue to do these, we're hoping to do mostly lives on Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern. What is that, 6 o'clock your time, Chris? Is that right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, so make sure to save us and tune in for that. But we may not go. It may not be a whole hour conversation. But once we start doing lives and we've got people in the chat and start asking questions and stuff like that, we'll see how we won't run it over an hour because that just gets too long. But half hour, 45 minutes, something like that. So make sure to stop back in and see us. Got any questions? Reach out to us. We're both pretty easy to find on Facebook. We're looking to help with our information, our experience. The newer sellers or the sellers that may just be struggling. Maybe you've been doing it for 5-6 months, whatever, but just kind of struggling on getting things moving. See if we can give some information, some tips, be a hotline. You can teach us something because we don't know it all for sure. We've been doing it for a while, but we definitely don't know it all. Learn something new every day. Just talking about the numbers situation, I learned a couple things today, and one of those was, or here in the last 2 days, and one of those things was kind of a motivational tip to the idea of knowing your numbers so that when you get up every morning, you know what you got to do. Okay. If you're going to do this consistently part time or as a good secondary part time income, which You don't have to go full time, folks. It's okay if you're part time making some. You can make some excellent second income money from reselling, and it's fun to do. You get to go to your yard sales, your garage sales, your estate sales, your auctions if you want, the thrift stores, and have fun shopping, and then come home and flip it and make some extra money for the holidays, traveling, vacation, whatever the case may be. So yeah, don't take it super seriously. I mean, if you're ready to go full time, then that's another story. But if you're out there, we're just putting information out there for sellers to get things rolling. But you still got to know, what do I need to do when I get up tomorrow? Okay, so I got to get up. I got to take pictures. I got to maybe clean some stuff, process some stuff. I got my day job to take care of. I got my household to take care of. And then I can sit down and get some listings done. How many listings do I need to reach my goal? That's the numbers questions you got to start figuring out. And everything that we talked about for expenses and shipping and all that tonight all works into that if you want to really get some good numbers put together. If you really want to get yourself motivated and hey, I've got to do, I want to do $200 in sales tomorrow, then you got to get up in the morning and say, I'm $200 in the hole right now. What am I going to do to get out of my hole? Okay, and that will help motivate you to get the work done. Because I know, trust me, come home, you're tired, things didn't go well for the day, for whatever, family situations come up, health issues come up, whatever. But you still got to find a way to get it done if you want to hit those goals. So hopefully some of this information will help you out with that. Chris, got any other thoughts?
Okay, so closing up here, you got to know your numbers, regardless of what business you're in. If you're working at Burger King, you got to know your numbers. You got to know when to send the extra employees home. You got to know when to call in extra employees for help. You got to know what to order. You got to know how much waste you're throwing away. You got to know those numbers. Same thing in reselling. It's not different. Don't think this is different than any other business in the world, because I learned more about selling online from working at Walmart than I did from any other source on earth. Seriously, Walmart is one of those retail companies that wants to sell as much as they possibly can every single day. And when you catch that, the only way to sell it is if it's on the shelf. Well, in this world, the only way to sell it is if it's listed. If it's not listed, it's not going to sell. Next week, I'd like to talk about product research. I have here German Stein. Okay, Stein. It was made in West Germany for Oktoberfest for Breckenridge, Colorado. I paid $3.99 at Goodwill for this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do next week is talk about, how do I know how much to sell it for? How do I know how much shipping is going to cost? How do I know if even $3.99 is a good price for it? For me, it's a good price just because if I don't sell it, I'll put it up on my shelf. Yeah. So, I mean, it helps to sell what you love. It takes a lot of the pressure off of you. It really does.
Yep. Absolutely. This shirt that I've got on right now was intended to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I kept it for myself. I got a couple others that if they don't sell, they're going in my t-shirt inventory or my t-shirt closet. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I like that. Product research is huge, and we can definitely learn a few things about that going into next week. So we'll continue to have some extra information here. Again, if you need, if you want to say hi to us, find us on Facebook, or I've got a YouTube channel, JB Net Treasures. Chris, are you still working with the YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, YouTube channel, Facebook group, all that stuff. Okay, I'll have all the links for both of us in all the descriptions. Yeah,
because we'll have some different things that you can dive a little deeper with as well down the road. So this is our first night doing this on Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock California time. What do you call it? Pacific time, I guess, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So All right, so that way we catch, hopefully we catch a nice mix of people. We get some people in the chats and have some good discussions down the road. So Chris, thank you so much for putting all this together on the technology side. We got a lot to learn on. I've got a lot to learn on this. What are we using? Restream. Restream. Yeah, we're using Restream for our lives and our videos. So, all right, appreciate it, friend. I will talk to you soon enough. Happy selling, everybody.